Welcome back everybody to the Hello World Guy, and let's quickly get started with today's video because this is going to be a quick one. Alright guys, now here is my 3D project, and as I said in the last video, I originally intended to make a level for our game in this video. But today I have decided not to do that, and instead this is just going to be a short video in which we are going to add a couple of features to make our game a bit more spicy, to be honest. That these there are three things that I would like to address. Firstly, allowing the player to sprint by holding the shift key, and then allowing him to crouch as well. These are two things related to the player. And the third thing is that currently if you look at the sky, it kind of really doesn't look like a sky much. I mean, you've got a sun here and nothing else really, to be honest. So we are now going to add an actual proper skybox here that looks like a real sky. So first of all, we are going to get started with the player sprinting. Now in order to do that, what I'm going to do is go under here inside of my inside of here, Visual Studio, and then I'm going to open up the player movement script. I'm going to close the other scripts, and here you can see we have got our movement speed variable here. Now, oh sorry, I'm going to copy this and add another variable called sprint speed. Just okay. Now this is going to be by default 10 or 12 maybe. And what we are doing in the update method is that we are checking, we are having a float called speed, which is equal to the movement speed, and we are saying if input dot get key, oh sorry, not get key, we are going to use get button here, and this button is going to be the get button. Make sure it's get button, not get button down, or else it will cause a bunch of problems really. So get button sprint, and speed is equal to sprint speed, and that's pretty much it. That's all we need to do. And what we need to do here is that we actually need to use this speed variable instead of the movement speed. Just use speed. And now if I go under Unity and let it compile, then it shouldn't really work because we haven't got the sprint thing set up right now. So if I go under project settings and then input manager, you can see that here we have got our fire 3 here. I'm going to just change this to sprint, and it's already configured as left shift. I'm going to also add right shift to this as the alternative button, positive button, and the normal button and the alternative button. All right, yeah, that's pretty much it. So if I hit play right now, then this will pretty much work, to be honest. So you can see that I can move, and then if I hit shift, I can move faster. You can see normal moving, shift moving faster. Yeah, so that's working. So if I just to show you a bit more clearly, come on, if I just go and select my alright, if I select my player here, there, and then I change the, come on, and I change this sprint speed to something like 20, then you can see that sprinting really does work. It's extremely fast. Okay, so sprinting is pretty much working. Now it's time to add crouching, and adding crouching is actually really simple. So first, let's start with a couple of variable declarations. I'm going to add in a serialize field, and this is going to be your private float called crouch speed. So this will be our speed when crouching. By default, I'm going to set this to 3 or maybe 4. Doesn't really matter, we can always change this to in Unity. And now we need a bunch of references. So what we are going to do is essentially scale the components separately and move them separately, because if we don't do that, then it will cause a bunch of problems. The main one being that the camera won't really work, because when we scale the we will scale our player down, and we will if we just scale our player down, then the camera won't work, because it will also be scaled down, which means that the gun will be scaled down, which means it will look skewed. Therefore we need to do everything separately. So there's going to be a private transform here, transform called the player model, and we don't really need to scale this. And this is going to be another transform called the camera, and then there is going to be I think that's it. And I'm also going to add one, not really. Okay, so this I think is enough. And what we need to do here is create a bunch of private variables. So starting with a variable called uh, called oh, and one more. All right, we need to create a variable called height and crouch height. This will be the height of our character controller. Okay, then we need to create yet another variable, two more variables called y scale and crouch y scale. These will represent the scale of our player model when crouching and not crouching. Then we will have to create another variable called all right, y pose, the y position of the camera, and crouch y pose. You can make them a bit better by adding player and camera in these two variable names, but I'm not going to bother doing that. And what I'm going to do after we have got our reference to our character controller, because of course we are going to use that. Height is going to be equal to the crouching height, crouch height, and sorry, not really, crouch height is going to be equal to controller dot height, the height of the character controller, and then the crouch height is going to be equal to height divided by 2, and everything else is basically going to be like this. So y scale is going to be equal to the player model dot local scale dot y, and the crouch y scale is equal to y scale by 2. And we are going to have another variable called we have got another y pose. So y pose is equal to camera dot local position, this is important, local position dot y, and the crouch y pose, crouch y pose is going to be equal to camera dot local, is going to be equal to y pose by 2. I am also going to subtract a small amount from it, so that it is at a correct position, and it's not like above the player and we can't see the actual player model. Let it compile. Also, I think I made these two invisible. I'm going to make them by default. Again, I just made them so that they are not visible, but yeah, it's back to normal now. So now what we are going to do is actually code the logic for crouching. So just to make sure, I have already done this, so make sure that you have got a axis called crouch with the correct button set up. And if you use control like me, then make sure that no other button, especially the fire button, is using control, or else you are, because you know the fire button by default is using the control key. So if you try to crouch, then you will be firing as well, which is obviously not what we want. And here what I'm going to say is say controller dot height, if the player is crouching, is equal to crouch height, and if it's crouching, then I'm going to say player model dot local scale, I can't say this, is equal to new vector 3, and this is going to be player dot local scale, player model dot local scale dot y x, and then crouch y scale, and then player model dot local scale dot z, and then we are going to say camera dot local position, local position is equal to new vector 3, and the x is going to be camera dot local position dot x, camera dot, and then this is going to be the crouch y position, and then this is going to be camera dot local position dot z. Maybe I'm going to remove this extra line here. That looks pretty good, and I think that's all we need here. And oh, of course, one more thing, we need to set the speed. The local speed variable is equal to the crouch speed. Now we can copy these 3 lines of code here and go here, add in an else statement and add this. Now this should essentially work because we are getting a new vector 3, and then but of course we need to change this to the normal y scale, the normal y position, and this to be the normal height, and that should work. So if I go under Unity and let's compile, then we are going to of course select our player and drag in all of our references. So the player model and then the camera, and now if I hit play, then hopefully our crouching will be working. Maybe there are some problems, but okay, you can see that we went a bit too low. So I'm going to go here, and where we are subtracting 0.1f, I'm going to just subtract 0.05f, and that should work. And as you just saw, everything else was working. So now if I go under here and I hit control, then you can see I'm moving, and I'm moving slowly compared to when I move when I am not crouching, when I am crouching. So I can hide behind stuff, and this is pretty much working. So yeah, that means we have got a working crouching system. So that's done. Now, as I promised earlier, we are now going to quickly add the skybox, so that this sky, because this sky kind of sucks really, so we are going to add a more realistic looking sky. How can we achieve that possibly? Now, in order to do that, all you need to do is first download the skyboxes, because you can create them yourself using some software. There are a bunch of them available, but we are going to download them from the package manager. I will leave a link to the Unity asset store, from where you just need to go and click add to my assets to add them to your assets. And what you need to do then is go under general and go under window package manager, and what you need to do here is go under my assets and then select this skybox series 3 asset, which I will give you a link to download, and then click this import button. I have already done that, I won't do it now. After you have done that and it has imported everything, it will take a bit of time though, and import everything, don't leave anything. You can leave a couple of things, but I'm going to just add everything, and you can see you get a new folder here called sky cv 3b. And if I open this up, you can see there are a bunch of different materials here. These are basically skyboxes. So in order to actually change that, what I'm going to do is go under window, rendering, and open up the lighting window. Then go under environment, and here you can see the skybox material is the default skybox. Then you can select anything that you want here, for example this one, and let's drag it here. And as you can see that this skybox doesn't really look that good, but that adds it there. You can do a bunch of things, but I'm going to and one more thing you can do is for example add this one, and that looks better. Or you can add this one, just add whatever you like. So this is like this is a pretty cool one, to be honest, but you can basically add whatever you prefer. For example this, unless yeah, that actually looks pretty realistic. Or you can add something like this, because this also looks kind of weird. You can add whatever you like, it's up to you. Yeah, so for me, I'm just going to choose this oh, not this one. I'm going to choose this one. Or you can also choose this water, under the water thing, that's also pretty cool, but I'm just going to choose this one here. And oh no, this one, the sunless thing, and this looks pretty cool. And you can choose whatever you like here. There are a bunch of really cool ones. You can also go and on the Unity asset store and search for other skyboxes. So yeah, that's a really quick way to set up skyboxes. And you can see that already adds a grade to our to the field of our game. So yeah, this is pretty much it for this video, and I will see you in the next video. Also make sure to like and subscribe. So bye.